What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Aftersound here, bringing you Splinterlands content every single day. We also stream right here on this channel as well as on Twitch, so make sure you come by and say hello. This video is also brought to you by My Music, which is available anywhere you stream music under the name Aftersound. And I do have a new song out recently called Dreamin' the Deep Source Remix, so check it out. Let me know what you think, and I appreciate the support. All right, guys, I just wanted to run through some of the numbers here with you for the swaps when it comes to DEC and SPS in regards to the flywheel. Now, I put out the video a day or two ago looking at, the rough timeline for us to get to mid-September-ish until we see the team actually need DEC. And just for a little bit of a refresher, let's actually go back to that here on Splinter Cards. And you can see that the team, let me go ahead and refresh this, because it was 180, but I think it's come down a little bit. So it should be like, there you go, 174, right? So 6 million is used from the time that I recorded that last video. So again, that's roughly 4 weeks. If the team is consuming roughly 40 million DEC per week, just facilitating back-end credits transactions, then what we can assume is that's about 4 weeks away. We're in the early parts of August right now. And here's where the magic really starts to happen. Okay, so first of all, what I'm going to do, and let's actually take a look here at the DEC pool. So you have swap.hive and DEC SPS, right? So right now, the DEC SPS pool is the biggest one. It's worth $480,000 versus the swap.hive and DEC pool. That's only about $102,000. So let's go ahead and take a look. And I'm just going to do SPS and DEC, right? So let's do SPS to DEC. Let's say the team were to take SPS and sell that SPS, right, to buy DEC. Obviously, they're not going to sell their own SPS, but again, just to acquire the appropriate amount of DEC, we're going to run this through and do 40 million, right? This is just 1 week's worth, maybe roughly 1 week's worth. So 40, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And you can see already we are pushing the price of DEC up 17%. Now, even just a 10% move in DEC, right? Because again, we're accounting for the fact that there's other pools, so all this will get arbitraged away. But even just a 10% increase with where DEC is at right now would get us above 0.95, right? So all of a sudden, we're within striking distance of the peg mount, and that happens after roughly 1 week. So give it 2, 3, maybe even 4 weeks, right? And we will very much be in a position where there will be no more DEC left, or not enough DEC left in that pool where it will make sense to start going to SPS and start buying. And you can see that here, right? So the markets and pools as it's showing right now are showing roughly 300 million, a little bit under 300 million DEC. We started seeing the flywheel activate once we got under 250 million DEC in the markets and pools. So that is roughly 1 week's worth of DEC that is in there, combined with the roughly 4 weeks worth that is sitting in the company coffers. So where does the magic happen? What am I getting excited about? Well, let's go ahead and swap these around. So if we switch it up and say, okay, every week now, beyond that, if there is roughly 40 million DEC worth of credits, or roughly $40,000 worth of credits coming into the ecosystem, and there's not enough DEC anymore because the team is buying that DEC and facilitating it out, well, the first couple of weeks at the very least, we'll look at this and see a 14 to 15% increase in SPS. Again, is that a lot? No, and obviously some of that will be arbitraged away, so let's even bump it back down and be conservative and say a 10% increase in SPS. Is that going to be, a gigantic amount, or is that going to be a huge pump in the price? No, probably not. I mean, where would that even get us? We're right now at, we'll say 0.007. So, I mean, that would barely get us, that wouldn't even get us to 0.008, right? But the point is that we would start seeing significant buy pressure on SPS. Now, the magic, the most important thing here, which I'm not, I don't know how to really calculate this, is how much DEC is actually getting burned per week. Because if we get into a situation where we start minting roughly 40 million DEC per week, I don't think that we're in a place where we are actually burning 40 million DEC per week. So this wouldn't go on week after week after week. We would probably have a couple of weeks of the team getting the flywheel activated, right? We would see SPS pump a little bit, and then there would be a little bit of a cool-off period where we would need to, disperse that DEC. Either it would be going into the DAO, it would be getting burned, right? And I consider going into DAO somewhat burned at this point. But my point is that, even if we were to see just small percentage gains in SPS on a week-to-week basis. It doesn't have to be a lot, but if the team is going in and consistently buying SPS to burn for DEC every week, every other week, that is when the magic will happen, right? Because it's not the massive pump and dump nature of it. It's the relentlessness of having to go and push the price up a couple percentage points every week. Combine that with the fact that we've turned off so many faucets, including the LPs, which just went off, and that was another big one. And to me, that is going to be a great thing from a supply demand economic standpoint, right? When we're looking at, okay, the demand is increasing, we've cut off the amount of dilution. Yes, there's a ton of supply out there, and what we'll probably see is as SPS hits certain milestones, right, maybe 0.008, 0.009, or even a penny, you will get more sellers coming out, right? Maybe people who went for the trade bought at 0.007 and are trying to offload with a 50% gain. Again, it's a dynamic marketplace, right? But the point is that once we get there and have a significant amount of time in which people will be coming in, spending money within the game, or using credits to spend money, we will start to see that happen, and we won't get this massive DEC overhang of several hundred million that we had following the Conclave Arcana presale. It will, at the very least, probably just be like tens of millions, which we can work through on a very on a decent time scale, right, within a couple of weeks, in my opinion. Because as long as there's packs available, as long as there are things that people can spend their DEC on, and the team has been fantastic so far in terms of giving people lots of things to spend their DEC on, and we're seeing DEC get burned for land, we're seeing DEC get burned for guilds, especially if there's a guild overhaul, that'll be fantastic. There will be hopefully many more catalysts that bring in DEC demand, which then translates to SPS demand. And again, I'm just sharing with you the rough numbers here of what that would look like in terms of price impact. So am I saying that SPS is going to go to the freaking moon? No, none of this financial advice. Please don't take it as any of that. All I'm saying is the reason I'm excited for the flywheel to get activated in a slow and steady manner, rather than what we've seen over the past two massive pump and dumps, which were the Rebellion release as well as the Conclave Arcana release. Once we can see a more consistent flywheel, that is what I get excited about. Again, not because it's going to go to the moon or 3, 10, 5, however many cents you think it's going to go, but just the fact that we are going to start burning that amount of SPS regularly. We're going to be taking it out of circulation, burning it to DEC, and we will start moving in the right direction. And so, for example, here, just to close this video out, I mean, this is 40 million DEC. We would be buying, how much SPS is this? 4 million SPS, right? 4.3 million SPS, and it would be immediately burned for DEC to cover 1 week's worth of credits transactions, right? Now, maybe it take a week or a couple of weeks in order to burn through all that DEC, but then we come back and we do it again. And obviously be a little bit less if SPS was higher, but we start churning through that SPS, and that's where it gets really, really exciting, right? Because I think 30 million, if I'm doing the math right in my head, I think 30 million SPS is 1% of the total supply, right? So just in this transaction alone, we'd be burning 0.1%. And so this is what I mean by the compounding nature of demand starts to go up, supply starts to decrease for both SPS, right, and DEC. But that's where the magic happens. So just want to share those numbers with you. Hopefully it wasn't too confusing, but let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Otherwise, I'll catch you all in the next one and see you around the game. Take care.